Hey guys, it's Techo Freak here. Welcome to episode 36 of my custom story creation tutorial for Amnesia Rebirth. And today we're going to be talking about sequences. So, sequences, I'm going to be honest, it's not going to be the most interesting video in the sense that there's going to be a lot of things to show. But this is actually a very powerful thing that we need to learn in Amnesia Rebirth. It's actually as important as timers. Because if you plan on doing any cutscenes or any scripted events and stuff like that, any crazy scripted events that have a lot of steps to them, you probably need to know how to use sequences properly, because sequences actually let you execute things in time intervals, or lets you skip steps based on if previous requirements are met and stuff like that. So this is actually super important for scripting events, and it's something that you guys definitely need to learn before we get into things like cutscenes and like more scripted events going forward. Breaking down like a door or something like simple, but now we have to script a whole like wake up sequence where the player has to get up, maybe say some voice lines, and maybe have some kind of like bloom effect, like, you know, blur effect. Like, all of this would be better managed using sequences. So with that out the way, let's go ahead and get started. We'll probably only be printing messages on screen to show what's happening. We won't actually be doing any kind of like crazy stuff like scripted events or anything like that. Just pretty much messages to print on screen. But again, this will probably be a lead up to a cutscene video, or like some kind of scripted animations video or something like that. So this is definitely an important video to watch and learn. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna start a scripted sequence. We're just gonna be printing messages. We're gonna do that here in our trigger area right here. So we have a function called onCollide player trigger 1. I'm going to go ahead and bring up our level editor here, and in case you're not completely familiar with the trigger area that we have here, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. So this is the trigger area called trigger 1. If we go to the collide callbacks here, you can see that we're checking to see if the player collides with this trigger area. If the player collides with this trigger area, we go ahead and run a function called onCollide player trigger 1, which is that function you see here. And the only thing we're doing in here is just printing out a message that we're enabling the player's running, and then we're also setting the player's ability to run here as well. This is happening when the alt state equals 1, which means that the player just entered the area. And we're not doing anything when the player leaves the area. We only care about when he enters the area, when alt state equals 1. And then we return false that the function, this whole function doesn't run again. We only want it running once, so we set this to return false here. So with that out the way, let's go ahead and pretty much get started on learning about sequences. So first thing I want to do, if you don't already have the helper sequences file imported at the top, you want to make sure you put it here. Remember, when we're running a lot of these helper functions, we want to make sure we have them imported in our custom story so that we can quickly access them, access their functions and stuff like that. If you don't have it here, you might get an error saying that like, oh, we cannot find function whatever, but you can clearly see it's there. So like, for example, if I type in like sequence, and we use like this function here, for example, just a random function here, then it's gonna, and you load it up without actually importing what I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna get an error saying that there is no function called sequence skip next steps. So you gotta make sure you get these here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a pound sign here, and I'm gonna do include, and I'm gonna go ahead and put quotation marks. I'm gonna do helpers, and what we want to do is find the one that's called helper sequence. So if we go down, we should see it here, helper sequences right here. So helper sequences, so this is the one that will include all those sequence files that we need to use sequences. So make sure you put that first before you go ahead and start at on anything here. And with that, we can go ahead and actually start working on our sequence now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new function here. So just to kind of keep things close, I'm gonna create it right underneath our trigger area here, just so we can see everything all on the same screen. I'm gonna zoom you guys in so you guys can see all the code a little better. And so yeah, we're gonna go here. So first thing we want to do is write our sequence function here. So we're gonna go ahead and do void because we're not gonna be returning anything out of this function. And then we're gonna go ahead and give our function a name. So usually the convention is to type in seq underscore. And then you can see all the ones from the developers, all of the sequences that the developers created appear right here. And you can always check them out if you want to learn even more about sequences. But we're pretty much following their same naming scheme, seq underscore. And then this is now at this point you can give the name to your sequence. So if your sequence is like, wake up sequence, you can call it like wake up sequence. So I'm just going to call this one test, T-E-S-T, because we're just doing a test here, printing out some messages. Eventually, when we get into like doing cutscenes and stuff like that, then we will give this one a proper name and stuff. So we'll go ahead and do an open and close parentheses here now, and we'll do our curly brace and we'll hit enter just so we have our whole thing written out already. But we do need to put something in between these parentheses here. So we're going to go ahead and enter something here. And what we're going to do is this has to be exact. So just copy this word for word here. And a lot of the code here that I'm going to be using today is going to be in the link in the description of the video anyway. So if you want to just copy some of it, you can. But mostly it's just going to be the functions that we ran in today's episode here. Anyways, we're going to do const and we're going to do t-string. Again, this all has to be exact, and then we're going to put an ampersand here. So we're going to do ampersand, and then we're going to do in, and then as timer. So that has to be exact there. And then we're going to come inside of this function here, and we're going to put two things first before we do anything else. We're going to do sequence underscore begin. And we're going to go ahead and hit enter here. It does give you some information about what it does here. We're going to go ahead and hit sequence begin, and we're going to do we're going to put in the name of our function here. So this is actually the name of the same function we're inside of, the sequence function here. So we're going to type in seq underscore test. So same name as you see right here. And next, we actually have to put in the data state of our sequence. So what a sequence data state is pretty much just the class that they use to kind of store all the information for our sequence. We don't actually have to really do that much. We don't have to worry about the class itself or anything like that. We can just create one. So what we're going to do is you normally could put this under your global variables. We have like a section here that we have just set aside for global variables. I think it's a little higher here. Yeah, right here we have our section for our global variables. So you could put another section right underneath here, like my sequence variables or something like that. But just for the video, and so you guys can see it pretty easily, I'm going to go ahead and put it right above the function right here, and we're going to say is sequence states data. So it should actually come up right away. At sequences states data, and then we're going to give it a name. This is the name of the variable for this sequence states data, and the convention that they use is very similar to the function. It's seq underscore and then the name of it. We already have our function, and we called it test. So we're gonna go ahead and just put test right here, and then we're just gonna close it out with a semicolon right there, and that's pretty much all that you need to do for that. We just need to create the actual data thing, the actual data sequence. And then now for the second variable in this sequence begin function, we can go ahead and put that variable in. So it's going to be seq test. And we can go ahead and now close this out with a semicolon. So our sequence is set to begin there. And then we need one last line here to end the sequence. So we're gonna go ahead and put a few spaces here. I'm gonna leave some space in the middle because we're gonna be putting some stuff in between there. So we're gonna do sequence. We're gonna do sequence underscore, and then we're gonna do end. So there's actually no need for any variables in here. Just end, and then save it right there. And now our whole sequence and any scripted events and stuff that we're going to do is all going to be put in between these two lines right here. So before we actually start on talking about like how to do the sequences and the steps and the wait times and all of this, I got to show you guys how you start the sequence first. So you got to find wherever you want to start the sequence. So, you know, if the player is going to wake up at the beginning of the game, then you start the sequence right as the game starts up. Otherwise, if you want to do it when the player steps in like a collide area or something like that, then we can start the sequence there. And as I stated before, we want to start the sequence from our trigger area here again. So if we bring up our map again here, when the player steps into this area, we want our sequence to start. So let's say you had some cutscene that you wanted to play here, and you step into this area. Now you can start the sequence, and you can start that scripted cutscene, animations, whatever it is that you want to do. So right here, like I said, the only thing we're doing in that area is just setting the player to run here. So we're gonna go ahead and make a new line here, and we're gonna do seq underscore tst, and all we're pretty much doing is calling this this function that we have here, our sequence function down here. And it does require a timer. Since this is the first time we call it, we're not going to put anything in here. We just put two quotation marks right here and leave it blank in the middle. So no need to put anything in there. And we're not even using that information either. So there's no need to bother with that. So there it is. We call our sequence function. And now our sequence begins here, and we can start scripting our sequence of events that we want. It's called sequence for exactly that reason. We're going to script a sequence of events, and we want them to play in a particular order. You know, you want to make sure the player wakes up and looks around for a few seconds before you make them stand up or something like that. You know, something of that sort. So let's go ahead. We're going to cover a majority of the main ones here. And how to stop and resume the sequence. I won't cover all of them because a lot of them are just going to be simple or pretty straightforward, but I'll kind of just show you guys the functions before we wrap up the video or anything like that. So what we're going to do now is all these sequences pretty much go inside of if statements, a majority at least. I'll show you some that don't. We're going to do if, and then we'll do open and close parentheses, and we'll do a curly brace, and we'll enter here. And now, when you call a sequence, you can pretty much have any set of instructions as to when it should run or if it should run and then wait. So we're going to type in sequence underscore, and then you'll be able to see a few of them here. So do step and continue. So what this will do is it will run whatever's inside of this if statement that we have here, and it will continue in the sequence. It'll do the next if statement or whatever. Do step and wait. We can do whatever's in this if function, and then we can go ahead and then it'll go ahead and wait a few seconds before it does the next stuff in the thing. So like I said, if let's say the player wakes up, you want them to like have like a blur look around effect or something like that. Then you want him to stand up after like 3 seconds. This would be perfect for that. Do step and wait. He'll do something. He'll look around. Then he'll wait 3 seconds, and 3 seconds later you can do the stand up or whatever. We don't need sequence begin there. So do step and pause. We're gonna cover this one today too. So do something and then pause the whole sequence. These here are the ones from the developers here. They're the ones that have that like minus sign there. So we don't need to worry about those. There's add wait time. There's do step, and then you can wait until a timestamp. We probably will be talking about timestamps in a future episode and stuff like that. So, if you want to look into it now, you can look into how to get timestamps and stuff like that in case you want stuff to happen at a certain time. But we actually won't be talking about this one just yet. Do step, wait, and repeat. So, you do something, you wait a little bit of time, and then you repeat it again, and you just pretty much keep doing that until you skip the step or whatever. You can skip any number of steps using this one. Skip next steps. And then there's the sequence stops. There's the sequence wait and the sequence pause or whatever. These typically are outside of the function. It usually tells you when this should be inside or outside the function. So like this one here, it says it therefore should not be inside of a sequence do step function. So it tells you that this should pretty much be outside of this if statement of sequences. So this is just a quick coverage of some of these. We're going to go ahead and cover a few of these now. So let's go ahead and start talking about which ones we're going to talk about. So first one I want to talk about is the do step and wait. So probably one of the biggest ones here. It's going to be do step. And in case you guys ever get this, where if you look at the screen here, you can see that it's not like auto filling for me. I found if you hit Control Spacebar, it will like bring up your suggestions again. So just a good little tip there if you didn't know that already. So do step and wait. It'll do step and wait. So now what this will pretty much do is everything inside of this if statement we're gonna go ahead and do, and then we'll wait some amount of time before we move on to the next if statement or whatever we're gonna do. And again, if we have all these filled out, you guys might be able to make a little more sense of it if it's not completely making sense now. So just pay attention for a moment here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a wait time of 5 seconds. So what I plan to do is print a message here. And then I want to wait like 5 seconds, and then I want to print like another message, and I want a good amount of time to be able to notice the difference in time and stuff like that. So we're gonna do 5 seconds. I think that's a good amount of time. And what we're gonna do is just print a message here. So we're gonna do clux underscore add debug message, and then we'll go ahead and put whatever we want to print out onto the screen to be. We're just gonna say print this and wait 5 seconds, ... And then we'll put our semicolon in the end just to make sure we complete the statement there. So what this will do is it will print this message and wait 5 seconds. That's exactly what we have here, just to kind of show that. And we're going to go ahead and go to a new line here. So that's exactly what's going to happen here. It's going to print this message, and then it's going to wait 5 seconds before doing anything else. So next, we're going to go ahead and put another if statement here, and we'll go ahead and do the open and close parentheses here. Or open and close curly brace here. And now we're going to use another one here. We're going to do sequence underscore do step and continue. So this one doesn't actually require anything to be inside of these parentheses. It'll complete it and then, continue on with the step as normal. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and print out a message here. So we're going to say clux add debug message, and then we're going to say print this and continue to do something else. So print this and continue to do something else. And we'll put semicolon and we'll go on to the next line here. Actually, we won't go to the next line. We'll go down past the if statement here. So so far, based on what we have here, we'll have a message print out here. Print this and wait 5 seconds. So print this message. 5 seconds later, it's going to move on to the next step in the sequence, which is this. And that next step in the sequence is do this step and continue. So what should happen here is print this message here, wait 5 seconds, then it's going to do this step here, which just pretty much has it print this message and move on to the next step. So let's go ahead and move on to the next step here. And now this one, let's do just so that we can make sure we see the message before we move on to anything else. Let's do another do step here. So we'll do sequence. We'll do sequence, and I'll hit Control Spacebar here, and we'll do step and wait. So we'll do same thing, 5.0f. I don't want the printouts to come so quickly and then us not be able to see any of the messages. So we'll just do the same thing here. We'll copy this message here. So and then we'll go to a new line here. So far, again, just to run through what's happening here, we're going to print this message, wait 5 seconds. Then the sequence just prints this and moves on and continues, So it's going to print this and continue to this one, which is going to then print this and wait 5 seconds. So that's about the order of things that should occur here. And now we're going to do a new one here. We're going to do if. And then we'll do our open and close curly brace, and we're gonna do sequence. We're gonna do sequence, and we're gonna do a do step and continue, but that's not gonna be what we're gonna be talking about for this if statement. So inside this if statement, we want to go ahead and skip the next item in our sequence. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do clux. We're gonna print the message, just kind of like denote everything here, and we're gonna print the message in here. We're gonna say print this and skip the next step. ... So it's gonna print this message and it's gonna skip the next step after this. And how we're gonna do that? So right inside of the sequence here, we're gonna go ahead and do sequence we're gonna do sequence, and it's gonna be underscore, and it's gonna be skip next step. Skip next step. And remember, there's 2 of these. So if you want to skip multiple steps, you can do multiple. We're only gonna skip 1, so we're just gonna use the skip next step. And we're gonna go ahead and do enter here and put our semicolon here. So this does not go inside of an if statement like this. This is just gonna pretty much skip the next step in the sequence. So once this if statement is done running, once you run this sequence skip next step, it will skip whatever comes after this here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a message right underneath it here. So we're gonna do an if statement here, and we're gonna put we're gonna give it some kind of a name right here, right? We'll do like sequence. We'll do step and continue. It doesn't really matter. It's gonna get skipped anyways. And we're gonna do step and continue. So what should happen here should just do whatever's inside of this if statement and continue. And because we're skipping it, it actually shouldn't come up. And so we're gonna print the debug message here, and we're gonna go ahead and just write this step is going to be skipped. And that will tell us that this step is gonna be skipped. So if we see this message, clearly it wasn't skipped, and let's make sure we get our semicolon at the end there. If we see this message, it clearly wasn't skipped. So we really shouldn't be seeing this message, because in the sequence before this, we say sequence skip next step. So we should be skipping this step right here. And this message should not print out because we're skipping it. So we'll keep an eye out for that once we actually run our game and start looking at these messages. So now we're gonna go ahead and do test another one here. So we're gonna do if parentheses, and we'll do our open and curly brace here. So we skipped this step, so that means we're gonna jump straight to this step because we skipped it right here. And this is gonna be a new one that we're gonna learn here, and it's gonna be sequence, or with an S here, sequence, and we're gonna do step and pulls right here. So do step and pulls. So a lot of these will tell you how you want to resume them and stuff like that. So for example, like this one, I think it's a little bit off screen here. So let me actually bring it down here so you guys can see it. And it is going to be do step and pulls here. And you'll see to resume, use sequence states resume function name. So it tells you how you want to resume it. So when you pause inside of the sequence here, or you stop completely inside of the sequence, it has to be continued outside of the sequence function. And I'll show you guys an example so you guys are comfortable with knowing how to do that. And we're gonna go ahead and hit enter to add it here. So it does ask you for a time. The time is not for how long it's going to be paused. Otherwise, you just use the do step and wait. The do step and pause actually, the time that you provide here is actually for after it is resumed. So if you put like 10.0f here, 10.0f here, once you do resume this sequence from outside the sequence function, it will wait 10 seconds and then it will actually resume. If this is not actually how long it's going to be paused for, so don't confuse those two. By default, it's actually set to 0, so we will leave it at 0. And again, that doesn't mean it's only going to be paused for 0 seconds. That means once it is resumed from being paused, it will then wait that amount of time, which is 0 seconds. So once you resume it outside of the sequence function, it will just go ahead and start right away. But if you wanted it to wait, that's the chance for you to put the time in there to wait. Again, I'm going to show you guys how we resume that in a moment. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to wait until something else in our level happens. And then once we do that, we can actually go ahead and continue the sequence. So what I'm thinking is we have a function here where our bottle breaks here. What I'm thinking is we can just use this here. So to show you those that haven't seen this from a previous episode before, this was, I believe, episode 5, our first intro into scripting. But we have a bottle here called bottle 1. And when this bottle is broken, so we have onBreak callback function. So when this bottle is broken, we call a function called onBreak bottle 1. And if we go back to our script file here, onBreak bottle 1 is right here. So once that bottle is broken, we call this function right here. and we print out a message that just pretty much says the bottle broke. The bottle's broken, you know? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the opportunity here to resume our sequence inside of here. So let's go over here first before we do that, and we'll do clux, and we'll do add debug message. And again, we're just going to kind of print what's going to be going on here. So we're going to say this sequence will be paused until the bottle is broken. So pretty much telling us that it will be paused until the bottle is broken. And we'll go ahead and close that out with a semicolon there. And then what we're gonna do is when the bottle is indeed broken, we will resume this. The way we do that, again, it did say it in the description of the function. So we'll say sequence underscore, and then or it's not underscore. We'll do sequence states, and then you'll see there's only 4 here, and these are for checking if it's active, pausing one, stopping one altogether, or resuming one. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and resume it. So we're going to go ahead and do resume here. And now we need to type the name of the sequence we want to resume. So this is going to be the name of that function up here. So we have our function name, which is seqtest, sequence underscore test. So that's exactly what we're going to type word for word there, seq underscore test. And we'll go ahead and put a semicolon at the end here. And now once the bottle is broken, we will continue our sequence. So by resuming here and resuming our function here, our sequence test function here, well, what this means is that all this code beforehand here will not be executed. We're going to literally skip all this code, and we're going to jump straight into here in our sequence. So you don't have to check to see, you don't have to do a whole bunch of extra checks for anything. It's so useful. You literally just skip all this code here and jump straight to this moment here in the sequence, and you continue from this point on. So again, very powerful, very useful for stuff like scripted scenes, cut scenes, any animation stuff that you might be doing. This is perfect. So once we resume here, just to make sure we can see that it resumed, we're gonna do one more. We're gonna print one more message at the end here, and we're gonna say if, and we're gonna put our curly braces here, and we're gonna do sequence underscore, and we're gonna do just a regular do step and continue here. And again, this is just gonna continue on here, and then we'll do another debug message here, and we're just gonna pretty much say looks like the bottle broke, and then we'll do comma space finishing sequence, because it's the last one we're going to be talking about, finishing sequence, and I'll put a semicolon at the end there just to make sure it's closed out. And then sequence end will run here because our whole sequence has been completed. We did our do step and continue here, and we got to our sequence end function, at the end here, and now the sequence has been completed. So let's give it one last rundown now, so we can completely understand what exactly is going to be happening once we start up our game and test out this code. So first, we have our trigger area here, in which when the player collides with it, we will go ahead and start our sequence here by doing sequence test. We begin our sequence by using the sequence begin function here, or sequence begin function here, and we put in the name of our sequence function right up here. And then we also put in our state data file, which is right here. It's set as a global variable. This is what manages like where you are in the sequence, so make sure that you have that. Then we go ahead and print out this message, and then wait 5 seconds. Then we go ahead and print out this message and go ahead and continue. And what we do is we go ahead and print out a message here and wait another 5 seconds. Then we do a step and continue here. And what we do is we go ahead and skip the next step in the sequence. And then what this next step is doing is the do step and continue, but it's going to be skipped. So this message here where it says this step is going to be skipped should not print. We actually won't be seeing this when we test it out. Then we do a do step and pause in the sequence here. So we will print this message, and then we will pause. We will pause the entire sequence, and it will have to be resumed outside of the sequence function. And where exactly are we doing that? Inside of our on break bottle 1 function here. When the bottle is broken, we'll go ahead and resume our sequence. So once we resume our sequence, it will pretty much jump this whole sequence, come all the way down past this do step and pause. If you specify any time in here, it will first wait, then do the next stuff here. But it's pretty much going to skip this. It's going to go past this point here, and it's going to jump right to this sequence step here. And the sequence step is just printing a message that says, looks like the bottle broke, finishing sequence. And then we go ahead and end the sequence right there, and we're all set. So that's pretty much everything. There are some other ones you can do. If you type in sequence again, you can see these. So we're pretty much set to test, but I just want to quickly show you guys some of these here. So sequence. We covered a lot of these do step and then do something, but there's other ones you can do here. You know, do step, wait and repeat. Do step and wait until a timestamp. You could do this. You can do the stop to completely stop it. You can skip any number of steps. You can wait a set amount of time altogether, but these would have to be outside of the function. These would have to be out. This wouldn't be inside of this if statement here. This would be outside, and you could just read the description for a lot of these and just kind of get an idea of what they do. So I highly recommend you guys check that out and make sure you read those. And with that, we can go ahead and pretty much test it out. A lot of the other ones, like I said, are pretty straightforward. But of course, if you guys ever have any questions, don't be shy. Feel free to ask in the comments or join the Discord and ask for more help and stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and start up our game and check out this whole sequence. All right, guys, here we are back in our level now. So again, we set the area here to be the area where the sequence starts. So again, I already did a run through of how everything should go. But first, it should print the message and then wait 5 seconds. So I'm gonna try and catch it as it's printing. I might hit pause here just to kind of see the message a bit quickly. So let's go ahead and step through and take a look at it. All right, so here it says enable playing is running. That's already there, but it says print this and wait 5 seconds. So I stopped the game, so we actually can't see the time go, but we can see the message. So we'll let go of it and we'll wait a few seconds. After those 5 seconds pass, boom, we get our next message, print this and continue to do something else, which was the print this and wait 5 seconds. So once I let go of escape here, we should wait a few seconds, and now we should get the next message, which should be the message that tells us that the sequence will be paused. So there it is. Print this and skip to the next step. This sequence will be paused until the bottle is broken. So as you can see, we skipped. It tells us that we're going to skip a step. We went ahead and skipped that step. We would have seen it. We would have seen the message that we said we're going to print, that, you know, like, oh, this step will be skipped. We didn't see it, which means it was skipped. And now it's going to go ahead and pause and wait until we break the bottle. So the sequence is going to be paused until we break the bottle. Let's go ahead and go over to the bottle. Let's go ahead and drop it and break it. So it's going to break. And boom, it looks like the bottle broke, finishing the sequence just like we scripted. And now the sequence is completed. The sequence is done. Our whole sequence has completed in the exact order that we wanted. And we are done. So again, a very, very powerful thing to know. This is gonna, for those that might have already started writing, like scripted cutscenes, animations, and stuff like that, and maybe they've been using timers for that. Once you learn this is gonna save you so much time. So definitely get this down, learn it. If you need if you want to look at how the developers do it, go ahead and check out their code. I highly encourage you guys to look into this. It is definitely something that will save you a lot of time in scripting a lot of these cutscenes and stuff that you might be working on. And I know I get asked practically, you know, every other day, like, when are you doing animations, cutscenes, and stuff like that? Well, this is going to make it so much easier to get that done. And this is pretty much how a lot of the scripted event sequences happen in the original game. So definitely put this one down on your list of things to completely master. This is definitely something you guys need to learn. As always, guys, the functions that we use in today's episode will be listed in a link in the description in the video. So make sure you go down there and you check that out. I'll put everything there. And there's also a link to the Discord in the description. So if you guys want to go there and ask questions and see what the community is up to, go ahead and go there. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there all the time. So go ahead and check that out. And with that, guys, I'm going to wrap up the video here. Leave a like on the video if you haven't already liked it. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And leave a comment letting me know what you guys want to see in future episodes, guys. Have a good one. Bye.